Time to discuss the latest commitments, decommitments, and coaching news here on the portal.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the podcast network that we are going to be having a lot of fun with over the next 2-3 weeks before it really hits decommitments, commitments, and now we're starting to see some names jump into the portal as well, and it's going to be fun. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It is a great place to get your tickets. First things first, we're going to need to go over the roadmap here, and we're going to get to Auburn's circumstance, firing you freeze. I had a show on it last night that I did with Zach Blackerby. Check it out if you want the latest intel on coaching situation with Auburn. But today I'm going to be discussing the recruiting situation. They just had a decommitment. I expect a few more to decommit from Auburn. I'll explain why later on in the show. We're going to go over the latest commits and decommitments. It's not like super busy, but there's some interesting names, including Tennessee getting a flip that's a pretty good player. But we're going to start off with the transfer portal. The supposed players that are going to be getting into the portal, it's not an easy situation if you're a college football coach, because you're always trying to manage your roster. And today is a great example of that. Just a few of the names. This is from On3 and some various sources otherwise. But Jerrick Gibson, running back at Texas, is somebody that's supposedly going to get in the portal. I had spoken with Matt Moscona, locked on LSU. He brought up Ashton Stamps. He's going to be officially in the portal. He was a starter, had 14 PBUs last year. Matter of fact, looking at his stats this past season, 51 tackles, 14 pass breakups, and 2 quarterback hurries. But DJ Pickett came in and beat him out at LSU. This is a guy that's probably going to be an NFL player. I imagine that Ashton Stamps will have many different places that he can go. He's a kid from Archbishop Rummel down in the New Orleans area. That's a great high school football program. I imagine Stamps will land on his feet and do quite well with NIL at some other programs. So that's just a couple of them. A guy that hasn't played necessarily a ton, that has some talent that I know from the high school ranks. Jalen Howard, he's a kid that played at Rockledge on the Space Coast of Florida, just due east of Orlando. He's leaving UCF, again, allegedly per On3. Oklahoma, Jaden Gibson, a kid that I've talked about before. He's another Orlando area kid. He played up at West Orange High School on the north side of Orlando, was a national recruit. These are just a few of them. And not that anybody doesn't already know this, like Oklahoma State has a ton of kids. The Noah McKinney kid, big offensive lineman. There are very few good linemen in the portal. He had like 6 starts this year before he got in the portal. That's going to be a kid that has a lot of opportunities. Noah McKinney is 6'4", 330 pounds. He's a road grader, is an interior offensive lineman. Maybe he ends up being somebody that goes to another program in the Big 12, but maybe he ends up at Ohio State. Who knows? Maybe it's UCLA. With the portal, you just don't know. And again, offensive line is at a premium. I did a list the other day for myself for the future. Went through about 27, 28 teams listed by position based on their depth chart, who's coming back. 3 positions, they probably need somebody in the portal. All but like 3 of them, I put offensive line in the top 3. So any offensive lineman that gets in, it's got a pretty good chance to get picked up. Looking down the list, another kid from Oklahoma State, Cameron Epps. That's a safety. It's got some talent. He's played a little bit. He's out of St. Louis. He played at Chaminade High School as he came out as a prep player. I think Oklahoma State's well over 10 guys. They may even be pushing 20 players there in the portal already. So we'll see how that goes. Tight end Josh Ford's another kid out of Oklahoma State that's entered. He's a big-bodied kid that could be a pretty darn good player for you. He's at 260, 6'5", 6'6". That's a big guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he does pretty well. And another kid from Oklahoma State, David Kabongo, he's a kid that's in the portal, another safety. So Oklahoma State's going to be on full rebuild, no doubt about it. But it is what it is. And as a note on the portal, this is still just the beginning. I knew this week would be starting to see more names and more confirmation, but I still haven't gotten, even like the one kid that contacted me, I haven't seen his name officially. I had one kid from a school where they fired their coach. He contacted me. I knew him in the recruiting process. He hasn't even gotten in, and he knows he's going in. So there are a lot of kids it's just not official yet. Just because you don't see it on Rivals or 24/7 doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It's going to be a lot of intel, and I don't like to give out kids' names they need to announce when they announce, but at the same time, there are a lot more that are dead set on it. So keep that in mind. As we kind of move forward and look at the portal timeline, as a reminder, January 2nd through the 16th is the one and only transfer portal window for this offseason. So if your school misses, it's over. That spring window, and this is the unfortunate part of it, when somebody gets hurt at a critical position, offensive tackle, quarterback, D tackle, is what it is. It'll be a little bit more linear. You're going to know a little bit easier right away which teams have a great shot to win their league or possibly go to the playoff. Kind of old school, to be honest. You got to have a little bit of luck in spring ball. So it is what it is. Vince Post, I'm here for the early portal talk. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Dallas Wilson, I don't know if Dallas is going to go in. I actually just recorded a show with Brandon Olson, the Locked On Gators, right before this, like literally 15 minutes ago. He was somebody that came up when I was talking to him. That show will be up in the morning, but just overall, to my knowledge, I have no idea if he's getting in. I'm not sure Brandon does either. Excuse me, but it's early. They have a lot of really tight-knit guys on the Gators roster. I wouldn't necessarily think that Florida is going to have a mass exodus. They'll have some guys leave, whether it's Lane or anybody else, but I'm sure the receivers want to see who the coach is to know if the offense is going to fit them. If it's Kiffin, I highly doubt Dallas Wilson's leaving, just as an example. Now, if it's Eli Drinkwitz, somebody who wants to run the ball a little bit more, maybe he would. I don't know. That's more of a balanced offense. Hard to say, but either way, I'm not really sure what to tell you on Dallas Wilson, but he will have options. And I even brought that up to Brandon. So it's not a surprising circumstance that somebody would ask about him. That's a good one because his recruitment was wild. He signed with Oregon, then a few weeks later decided, you know what, I do want to go to Florida and stay home in the state that I grew up in. So it's part of it. Every year there's going to be kids like that. So when we come back, I want to talk about Auburn's recruiting situation. Again, they fired Hugh Freeze. I did a podcast yesterday and put it up late last night about the Hugh Freeze situation, possible coaching candidates, and roster retention. How is that going to work out for Auburn? Because, it could be a lot of guys. It could be John Sumrall. It could be somebody else, head coach. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything for who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for an even bigger payout. Everything is going to be exciting with FanDuel, even more so than if you're just watching the game. So especially when your team's making that late push, check out FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Just check out FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We are also brought to you by Game Time. College football is awesome. It's super exciting this year, and with all the different games still to come to make the run for the playoffs, the tailgates, the rivalries, and all the energy in the stands, there's nothing like being at a live college football game. But let's be real, getting tickets can sometimes be more difficult than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping out at you at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, and you should as well. I actually just bought 2 tickets on Game Time, in and out in 5 minutes, literally. In and out in 5 minutes. And it includes putting my credit card information in. Just wanted to go to a basketball game, got the 2 tickets that I wanted, could see my seat view right from my phone. It's really, really easy. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And I tell you what, if you haven't subscribed yet, that's cool. This is an opportunity to do so. We're going to be doing live shows every day at noon throughout the week, having fun with it as we get ready for the madness that will happen. We have Natural Signing Day on December 3rd. That's right after. It's 4 days after the last college football weekend. And then it's portal season. We are right around the corner. It's just a month from now. We are literally a month from signing day. So there's going to be a lot of flips, a lot of stuff going on right here on the Portal Podcast. So lock in. Now I want to talk about Auburn and their recruiting class. Again, if you want to see the full disclosure of the expert, that would be one Mr. Zach Blackerby, who runs Locked On Auburn, arguably the most successful channel for the college side of the Locked On Podcast Network. Go check out the pod I had earlier today. It's up on audio and it's up on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. But I want to go and expand on a topic that Zach and I got into a little bit last night, and that's the situation with the roster. I know some of the Auburn players because I follow them during recruiting. I actually live in Auburn, and I've been around the program some. Well, I never really followed the program. This is just where I live. Those kids are pretty much loyal. So one of two things is going to happen, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Either they're going to make a quick decision and go with Durkin, who is the defense coordinator, very popular guy. Obviously, he's done a good job because the offense stinks at Auburn, and those players play really hard. And they'll buy in, and it'll go that route. They'll be pretty good with the roster. Or option two, if this drags out, and he could still get the job, but if it drags out beyond November 29th, when Auburn plays the Iron Bowl, which this year it's at Auburn, if it drags out beyond that, then it gets dicey. Your recruiting class can get iffy. To that point, Eric Perry at a DeSoto Central in South Haven, Mississippi, which is just on the edge of Memphis, running back recruit, has decommitted from Auburn. Okay, that's understandable. You're going to have one or two, but how many more will? The offense has been abysmal. I mean, they scored three against Kentucky. Doesn't get much worse than that. So with that being said, and by the way, that was at Jordan-Hare, your home stadium. With that being stated, I want to go over a few of the kids that not only are going to be a part of the Auburn class, we're going to talk about some of the decommitments and stuff. I want to go over that list real quick, then get to Auburn, but just put this in the back of your head. If you're an Auburn recruit, you don't know who your head coach is going to be, and the situation is tenuous because LSU, Florida, Penn State, possibly others that are big names. We'll see if Wisconsin gets involved. NC State could come open. Virginia Tech is open. Who are going to be your assistants too? It's not just the head coaches for these kids, and it's not just Auburn. Every school, because even if the school you're committed to is in a great spot, there could be a school down the road that tries to poach one of them. Recruiting is very, very fluid. It is very, very fluid. So it just goes in different directions. And to that point, I just pulled it up. Eric Perry has flipped his commitment from Auburn to Memphis. So there you go. I mean, he lives right on the edge of Memphis, so it's not really shocking, but that's just an example of it. You never know. You just never know. Speaking of commitments, just going down the list here a little bit. Caden Glover, Thousand Oaks, California. He is a tight end. He's committed to Navy. Good for you, man. That's a great opportunity and representing our country. Thank you very much. Anthony Jones at a Crean Lutheran in Irvine, California. Defensive lineman commits to the UCLA Bruins. North Texas, they've had a really good run here. Wide receiver, 5'10", 175 pounds. Jabari Thornton out of Waco, Texas. He's going to play for North Texas. Damian Moore out of Edgewater High School in Orlando, Florida. Athlete, all-around guy, 6', 200 pounds. He's going to UConn. That is a unique place for a kid all the way down in Orlando. Tennessee flips Luca Wolf. He was committed to Cal. This is a really unique situation. NFL Academy in London, England. So he wasn't going to go to Cal. Now he's going to go to Tennessee, and he is a big kid, 6'5", 245 pounds. Again, he's a tight end, Luca Wolf. Chris Carbon. This is the kid that committed to Florida State. I need to dive into his film a little bit more. He's a really, really good, talented player. He plays in my favorite county in the country, Gwinnett, up in Georgia. Florida State needs edge rushers desperately. They really don't have that many on their roster. FSU gets a commit, even though they've got a coaching change that could possibly happen. Again, you just never know with recruiting. And then finally, just one more to mention here. DJ Forkba, kid out of St. Francis Academy up in Baltimore. He commits to North Carolina. He's had offers from programs around the country. He is one of the most rocked up players that I've ever met in my life. So with that being stated, I want to go over the Auburn list a little bit. This is a pretty good class, even though it's small. I know people were kind of worried about it, but Braylon Womack, safety out of the greater Jackson, Mississippi area, plays at Hartfield Academy, national recruit. He's going to look around, but he is committed to Auburn. His sister, I can't remember which sport, basketball or volleyball or something. She's at Auburn, but he may end up somewhere else. That's tough if you lose him. But again, if you keep DJ Durkin, your odds of keeping Braylon Womack probably increase. The defensive back room at Auburn has done very well. The secondary has played better and better and better as the season went on. The only game they struggled at all was against Baylor, and they've got a tremendous passing offense. So I don't think that's really all on Auburn. That would be a tough one if they lost him. He is going to look around. He's openly said that. I read that on 24/7 Sports. I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens there. Let's see which visits he takes. Jaquez Wilkes. This is a kid that's from Wadley, Alabama, not that far from Auburn, hour and a half. I could see him being a guy that ends up taking visits, but like it was Auburn or Texas A&M, and A&M ran out of spots. I don't know where else he would go. That's an interesting one, but he's freaky athlete. Peyton Falzone, maybe the hardest one in this class to really try to gauge. He's from Pennsylvania, and he was committed to Penn State, and now the Blue is committed to Auburn. Now both those schools have fired their coach. Where in the world does Peyton Falzone go? Does he just stick with Auburn and wait to see who the coach is? Again, the coach may not be named prior to signing day, especially for a quarterback. That's a little dicey. I don't know what you do in that circumstance. Jace Matthews, maybe as good an athlete as there is in the country. He's my vote for it. Wide receiver out of Greene County in Weeksville, Mississippi. He is a freak. That young man, we'll see what happens. He wants what's best for Auburn. He made a comment to that effect. If it helps the program, so be it. He is a simple country guy. I expect him to end up at Auburn or Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not going to stop recruiting him. And if Lane ends up sticking with Ole Miss, I wouldn't be surprised if he at least took another visit there, but we'll see. Shadarius Tootle, he recently flipped to Auburn from Georgia after originally going from Auburn to Georgia. So it's went back and forth. Does this change anything for him? I think he's more committed to the school, and they've got a good NIL package for him. I imagine he's going to stick with the Tigers. We'll see. Wilson Zaire may be the one that I'm most comfortable saying he'll just go to Auburn. Offensive tackle. He plays at Raven Gap, the prep school in North Georgia, right on the Tennessee line. Very good player is one thing, and Auburn went after him, but so did Georgia, Bama, etc. But his brother played at Auburn. So he will probably stick with the Tigers. Adam Balagoon Ali, he's a kid that I got to know a couple of years ago. He led the team in tackles his freshman year, playing against some pretty good competition in South Florida. He would fit in really well with Durkin's system. But again, is Durkin going to be the guy, and when would they know? I really couldn't tell you. Parker Pritchett probably sticks with Auburn. I would imagine he's at Carver High School just across the line in Georgia. He's about an hour from Auburn's campus. We'll see, but he's a big-bodied kid. There's probably going to play interior offensive line, and I would imagine he's a guy that I don't even think he'll take visits. I could be wrong, but I don't even think he will. Wayne Henry, this is one I'm interested in. He's a safety, undersized guy, but a thumper and just a great football player. He's a kid that plays at Baltimore, St. Francis. Does he take visits? I think his stock it's at some point it's going to go up. I was surprised he didn't get more offers early, and Auburn jumped all over him. We'll see. But those are some of the guys with Auburn, and it just kind of accents the main theme here. Recruits pick coaches at Auburn or anywhere else. Doesn't matter where it's at. They pick coaches. If Durkin stays, especially the defensive players, they're probably going to stick with it. He's a heck of a defensive coach. That's obvious. His track record, it speaks for itself. He's been a GA at Notre Dame. He's coached as the head coach at Maryland. He's been at Texas A&M, Auburn. I mean, all over the place. Like, it's going to be pretty easy to sell that. But if you're an offensive recruit, if they name Durkin, when would it be? Who would the OC be? All that. None of that is likely to be done before signing day. So that just shows you like how important it is with the coaching situation. It's not Durkin's fault if he ends up being the guy. It's just timing. No more, no less. And every school, LSU, Penn State, or anybody else that enters this coaching market, it's the same thing. Your recruiting class is in peril just because December 3rd does not time itself well with the coaching search. The carousel is going to continue into January and even the portal time. And again, just for the record, that's January 2nd through the 16th. It's the only portal window, so it's awkward. Is Auburn going to lose some key players? 100%. I'll dive in more later this week. I'm trying to get some information. I've heard some rumblings prior to Freeze's firing that, some guys were going to leave. It may help that Freeze got fired because some of them were frustrated with the offense and all that. And obviously he didn't do a very good job. 3 points against Kentucky is an abomination. So you have to look at it from, if you're an Auburn fan, or even if you hate Auburn, doesn't make any difference. There's going to be some ups and downs with their coaching search, and it's a barometer for every other major job in college football. This isn't going to be a one-stop shop here. You're going to have every school look at it a little bit differently. We're just going to get our guy. If we screw it up for signing day and we screw it up for the portal, whatever, we'll take the 1-year hit. We want our guy. Maybe Florida does that to try to get Lane Kiffin because Ole Miss is probably going to the playoff, barring something very unforeseen. Could be. Does Auburn pull the trigger a little early, though? That could change their outcome quicker. Maybe it helps keep somebody like Deuce Knight. Maybe it helps keep somebody like Cam Coleman. I don't know. But they're probably going to lose a couple guys out of the recruiting class and probably a couple guys off the roster you don't want to lose. That happens in coaching transition. It is what it is. So last note here for Auburn fans, be patient as you can be. There's a long way to go, but there's nothing that you can really do about it because coaching transition always brings about change. To finish up the show here, we got a few comments. I'll read off a few here and see what we got. But this next week or so is going to be absolutely wild, by the way. It's not a situation where it's just Auburn. It's everybody because there's so many jobs that are open. The new life, what we got here. How does this new one-time portal window affect Indiana that looks destined for the playoffs? This is a great question. Let me address this head on. Any team that is in the portal, okay, or in the playoff, excuse me, if they play, let's say Indiana goes to the Final Four, just to use a barometer, you're missing part of the window. What's the deal? Indiana players get a window after their season is over. Any team that goes deep, like they go to the final game, whatever. So players can get in afterwards. You could still jump in the portal technically from that January 2nd to 16th window, 100%. But most of them will probably do it after. It'd be a little awkward. You're getting ready to play Ohio State or Georgia or somebody. What are we doing here? That'll happen after. Now, as it relates to coaches trying to get players in the portal, that's rough. That's rough. You're preparing pretty much around the clock for your next game. You're in the freaking playoff. So your back office staff is going to get relied on the most. It's not the same, but there's no way to do it friendly. There just isn't, because everything happens during in between of semesters. And that's when the playoff gets started. So it is what it is. Great question, though. Thank you very much for that. Let's see. Charlie O'Malley. A&M will run at Coleman. He originally committed to the Aggies until Jimbo left. Sure. Well, so will everybody else, too. Does Coleman want to leave? No. He loves it at Auburn. I've been around him since he's been at Auburn. He's happy here, but we'll see. Anything is possible. But again, with Durkin, who does he hire as his OC? Does Cam like DJ Durkin? I have no idea. But Cam's a pretty chill guy. He grew up an Auburn fan, and he grew up 45 minutes from Auburn's campus. It's going to depend on who they hire. Charlie O'Malley. Auburn receivers can't get separation. Often means player is unmotivated. There's nothing incorrect about that. Womack looking at Aggies. You must be a massive Aggies fan. Womack in College Station for SC game in 2 weeks. SC, South Carolina. That'll be interesting. Womack has been recruited by everybody. He's a great player. Heart of Sports, the new life, they will get an extra 5-day window after the playoff run is over. That is correct. So any player, that's in the playoffs, if they miss part of that window, again, January 2nd through the 16th, it's the one that's open to anybody. If you're in the playoff, your team ends after that, you get a 5-day window. So you want to hop in, you can. No big deal. Let's see. Charlie O'Malley, Durkin won't be able to recruit. Why do you say that? Durkin's been a pretty good recruiter from what I know, actually. He's helped Auburn get some kids out of Maryland because he's got ties there. Charlie O'Malley, a couple current Auburn defensive starters will be in NIL soon. You mean transfer portal? Probably. But so will everybody's team. Heart of sports. Who else wants the pod to blow up but wants Brian to remain the same? Keep it real. GOAT analyst he's been. Don't let the mainstream take Brian. Like, I don't plan on jumping on board with any mainstream. I'm better just being this because I'm so outspoken. I am who I am. I'm not going anywhere. You have to be who you are. And that's what I tell recruits when they ask me about going and picking colleges and stuff. If Bama offers you and you thought you should go to fill in the blank at another school, that doesn't matter. You know, the Bama offer is nice, but if you fit better somewhere else, go somewhere else. You have to be who you are. And that's the same with me. Thank you for that, by the way. I am always going to be real. I am always going to be honest. I'm not going to change that. And what I'm going to be saying over the next couple of weeks, I'm waiting on a few things to be able to talk about. Probably won't make some coaches around college football happy. I mean, for those of you that know, but if not, I'll announce this too. I also do the Locked On Seminoles pod. I constantly bag on the head coach because I don't think he should be the head coach at Florida State. I don't care if they don't like it. I let it rip. Anybody that fails, myself included, I let it be known. And I'm certainly far from infallible. I make many, many errors because I am human. But yeah, I'm a very honest guy and straight up. And what we're about to see, I'm telling everybody now, what we're about to see in the portal over the next week to 2 weeks, Auburn, LSU, etc. Like Ashton Stamps is in the portal. He's an NFL guy. He's already, going to the portal. That is wild. So hopefully we get some more clarity a little quicker, but the official dates and all that for entering aren't until January. This guy's announced kind of randomly. It's going to be wild. I'm curious to see the first big name quarterback. By the way, before I leave, just think about this. We're going to have a show again tomorrow and every day at noon. Who will be the first big name quarterback, at least talent? When I say big name, you can distinguish that however you want. Who will be the first big name, somebody that was either a 4 or 5 star, Elite 11 finalist, whatever, to hop in the portal, and why? Who's going to be that person? I don't know what it's going to be, but if I had to guess, it's probably somebody that's disgruntled because they didn't win the quarterback job this fall, and that guy they lost to has another year of eligibility. So they're stuck. They're very much stuck. That's going to do it for the Portal Podcast. I will talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.